Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Mind Matters, Understanding Alzheimer's. And tonight, our guest is Olivia Matongo, who is the Vice President of Programs at Alzheimer's Association Illinois chapter. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing so much encouraging information, Olivia, about some of the new research and treatments. Now, I know the Alzheimer's is at the forefront of promoting brain health. And so we want you to talk a little bit about that. And then I think the moment most of us, or at least me, I've been waiting for is some of those tips about how I can keep my brain healthy. Because I tell you, sometimes I'm in the middle of a sentence and I can't quite think of that word. So I want to work on some of those things, but I'm going to turn it back over to you and then we'll follow up with a few questions at the end.
So I laid the groundwork about who we are and what we do, what Alzheimer's and dementia is, how it's diagnosed, therapies that are available for those in the early stages. And, now we're going to move into a discussion around brain health and risk reduction, which has really become a very, very important topic, especially in the last few years. And I want to really kick things off by talking about the Pointer study. For those of you who might not know, the US Pointer study is a study that the Alzheimer's Association actually conducted. And we were looking at lifestyle interventions such as diet, physical activity, cognitive engagement, and how that might impact one's brain health. One of the most common questions we get is about how can people improve their brain health or lower their risk of dementia? And we've known that many health behaviors and conditions can affect the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. And now we have evidence through this study that engaging in healthy behaviors can have a positive impact on brain health. The US Pointer study showed that a program combining exercise, nutrition, cognitive engagement, and health monitoring can meaningfully protect brain health. This was a randomized controlled clinical trial that tested two lifestyle interventions in a large, diverse population of older adults that were at risk for cognitive decline and dementia. And what that basically means is they might have had somebody in their family that had memory loss or dementia. They themselves, though, as they were entering the study, were cognitively healthy. The participants were put into two groups, either a self-guided group or a structured group. And you can see here the brain health recipe that the structured group followed. Cognitive function improved for both groups, but the structured group that followed the recipe showed the greatest benefit, performing at cognitive levels comparable to adults nearly 2 years younger. This is a very important study that really underscores the message that healthy behaviors have a powerful impact on brain health. The Healthy Habits, 10 Healthy Habits, is another initiative that the Alzheimer's Association launched about 2 years ago, and it has quickly become a core part of our brain health messaging, helping communities understand simple, actionable steps to support cognitive wellness. Brain health is important for all ages, from childhood to older age. And I want to emphasize that it is never too early or too late to take action for brain health. Many of these habits that you're seeing on the screen do have ripple effects on others. So, for instance, exercise can help us sleep better, can help to control our diabetes or blood pressure. And the more habits you adopt, the more benefits for your brain health. Many of these habits, like eating right and moving your body, can also reduce the risk of heart disease, stroke, and even some cancers. So please really take a look at all of these things that we're encouraging you to do and try to adopt them today. It's never too late to start to take care of your brain, and your brain will thank you for that. And so, why these 10 habits? Why did we pick these habits? Well, the evidence about brain health risk factors is continuing to evolve. Because of that, the association is continuously monitoring evidence, and we're drawing conclusions based on published studies and reports. Right now, these are the 10 areas that have the strongest evidence. And so that's why they're included in this really important initiative. Like I mentioned, the science is continuing to evolve. And just because a risk factor is not listed here doesn't mean that it has no influence on cognitive decline or dementia. There is a lot of exciting research that is being done in areas of hearing loss, vision loss, stress, air pollution, for example. For now, focusing on the 10 on the previous screen is truly the priority. And another exciting initiative that we officially launched at the Illinois chapter is the Brain Health Project. And it launched in April of this year. And at the center of this campaign is the website, Your Brain Will Thank You. Please make note of this website, put it in your phone right now, come back and visit later. It's really important because this website is packed with helpful resources that are supporting brain health at any stage of life. It's really critical that anyone should be thinking about brain health. This is just not for older adults. Anyone should be thinking about their brain health. So we launched this project and we focused on 4 key areas that could potentially reduce the risk of cognitive decline. So eating well, staying active. So highlighting an activity like walking, engaging your brain. So highlighting activities such as pottery, and then getting good sleep. And this is just the beginning. We're going to continue to add to this website. Over the next 6 to 12 months, it's going to really become a robust health hub. So please make sure you make note of this website, visit, check out all of the resources, and start to take care of your brain today. And then I did want to obviously share all of the wonderful resources we have at the Alzheimer's Association. For those that are truly in the journey, we have a 24/7 helpline. There's somebody on the other end that is going to answer your call at any time of the day, any day of the week. It could be even as simple a question of what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, or how do I find a physician to help me with a diagnosis. Any need that you have, somebody on our helpline will be able to address that. We also have support groups for those that are navigating the disease. You can either do them in person or online. We have education programs. We have the Community Resource Finder, which allows you to be able to see what resources are available within your zip code. So all these resources are free. Please start to take advantage of them today if you are in fact in need of these resources. I did also want to really highlight the fact that we just launched an app for the first time a few months ago. It's really for caregivers as well as those that are living with the disease. So when you download it and you start to sign up for it, you either log in as a caregiver or a person living with the disease, and it's able to give you all of the guidance and resources that you need based on how you signed in. So again, if you know somebody that might need this or you yourself, please do take advantage of the app. You can download it on your App Store or Google Play. It is free and available for everybody that needs it. And so that's the end of my presentation. Thank you everybody so much. And I'm going to go back and join Donna for some questions.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I have a question, a quick one. Your brain will thank you. Is that on the alzheimers.com website, or where is that? It has its own website, own URL?
Website, you just plug in yourbrainwillthankyou.com and you can go in and you can take a look at all the wonderful resources. We also list the partners that are working with us on this initiative, Donna. And we have really strong partners at the table. We have the Illinois Department of Public Health, we have AARP, we have American Heart Association, we have Rush. I mean, everybody that is touching brain health, everybody that is touching Alzheimer's and dementia, they're all bringing their expertise and ensuring that all of the information that we're putting forward is helpful and also culturally relevant. So please go on and start to take care of your brain. It'll thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can tell you, I occasionally try to brush my teeth. I'm right-handed. I try to brush my teeth with my left hand, and it is a disaster. But I'm determined to keep working on it until I can get it together. And that's just baby steps. But to your point, it really is important to just try to do things differently and challenge your brain, right? So we do
Yes.
have a couple of questions. Let me start, if you don't mind, with Mike, who says, what tips can you share for family caregivers that would help recognize some of the signs of early stages of dementia and how to begin a conversation with that care recipient? That's an important one because sometimes loved ones or family members see things and the person who they're noticing is in denial, and it's a hard conversation to have. So what could you give us some tips about how to have that conversation and how to recognize some of the signs?
Yeah, how to recognize some of the signs. So, I Alzheimer's, as I mentioned in my presentation, can start very subtly, but over time, it really announces itself to the person as well as family members. So when you begin to see that your family member is maybe behaving a little bit different from what you're used to, you're noticing that perhaps when they go to the grocery store, they're not able to find their way back, they're misplacing their keys more often, they're not paying their bills. So what it really is, when you think about Alzheimer's and dementia, it's memory loss that is disrupting your daily life. So if you are noticing that your family member or yourself, your life has become disrupted by these memory issues, that's when you really need to look into it and figure out what's going on. So it has to be disruptive to you, to people around you. It's disruptive. And, I think the other question to this, I think it was how to have the conversation with the person. Was that the second part of the question?
Yes. Hmm.
It's difficult, it's hard. And I think sometimes when the person themselves knows something wrong is happening, they're not comfortable or not willing to accept the changes that are happening within themselves. So we do recommend, maybe engaging somebody. Usually our helpline is able to give really good guidance around how you're able to have those difficult conversations with a family member to get them to a place where they're able to recognize that something is wrong and it needs to be addressed. Because having those conversations sometimes can be difficult. So if you have somebody there to help guide, it makes it so much easier. So please absolutely call our helpline or reach out to the association, anyone in the field, myself, and we're able to come in and try to help navigate those conversations.
Thank you for that. One of the challenges I hear about quite often is how a person, maybe in the early stages in particular, can be lucid or not have any cognitive dissonance in the beginning, right? So maybe 90% of the time, everything is like firing on all cylinders. And then that other 10%, something happens and family members or loved ones maybe become frustrated and they're like, well, there's nothing wrong with you. Why are you acting that way? Because they're seeing them the other 90% of the time when everything appears to be going well. And so I think sometimes even for the patient or the person who has Alzheimer's, that can be very confusing
Yeah.
and frightening, right? Because maybe 90% of the time you're okay. And then that other 10% you're feeling like, maybe something isn't quite right.
Yeah.
So I think having someone that you trust or someone who loves you to really have that conversation maybe in a quiet moment, and then soliciting that help. I'm so happy to hear about the hotline. I think
Yeah.
that's going to blow up after tonight.
Please
Yeah.
call us. No, and we hear this all the time, Donna, because we do interact with people that are living with the disease. And I'll tell you this, more often than not, they do recognize something is wrong. I'm not operating the way that I used to. And, some people are able to quickly seek help, others are in denial. But I hear this all the time from people living with the disease. They can tell. So if you are out there and you are noticing changes in yourself, please call us. Please, speak to your doctor, figure out what's going on. It might not be dementia, but at least get an answer for what might be happening. And that will give you peace of mind.
And
Yeah.
also a baseline, right? Do you even recommend that people do a diagnosis or, the testing, even if they're not suspecting that anything is wrong? Because how do I know what normal is at 60 or 65 versus 75? Or is
I
that unnecessary?
I think it's tough because when you do go to your doctor and you want to have those tests to figure out, well, where am I? I think they tend to want to conduct testing when there is, maybe an issue
Okay.
at hand. Uh, but I believe right now they are, primary care physicians are really at a place where when you do hit 60, 65, they are beginning to do some of those tests to, as a screening to see where you are. And
Yeah.
if there's something there, then they progress it. So we are beginning to see more movement in that area, which is exciting that health systems are beginning to really pay attention to this.
Well, especially with blood tests, you think about the fact that you get a colonoscopy, right? So that there's a baseline, and whether you have any issues or not at a certain age, you're like, go and get a colonoscopy. So with the emergence of this blood test, I would think pretty much the same thing. Maybe at a certain point, they'll be like, okay, you're 65, let's go get the blood test, because it'll become so commonplace that it'll
Yeah,
just be among your blood panels,
yeah.
right? That when you go and get your annual exam,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I mean, I hope that's where it goes. There is a test that you can do now, Donna, and I neglected to mention that. You can do genetic testing, so you can actually ask for that. Most people that have Alzheimer's or dementia in their family are getting that test. Now, you may have the gene. It doesn't mean that it will eventually, you will eventually get Alzheimer's or dementia, but they can at least let you know you have the gene. And I think,
Hmm.
having that information can help you just make changes. If you're not adopting any of those 10 habits, you can start to do that and making
Yes.
sure that you're protecting your brain health so that you are reducing your risk of developing it down the line. So yes, it's genetic testing that you can do today if you
That's
do
good to
have.
know. I have it on both sides of my family, so I'm actually going to pursue that. Thank you for
Sure.
sharing that. Now, we
Yeah.
do have a couple of questions. One from Lisa, who says, thank you for your presentation, Olivia, and thank you for joining us, Olivia. Can you share how your Illinois chapter engages community members to bring awareness and education to our Black communities?
Oh gosh, this is something that we do every day. I will tell you this, one of the pillars at the Alzheimer's Association is diversity, equity, and inclusion, because the Black and Hispanic community are impacted the most. So it's critical for us to be in these communities raising awareness. And we really do it by connecting with community leaders, community organizations that are really tethered within these communities so that we're able to come in and share our mission and share our resources and raise awareness, through education, through conferences. So we have built such strong partnerships. I would tell you this, in the last year, and this was a concerted effort on the Illinois chapter's part to really partner with faith-based organizations. It's something that we didn't do before, but we recognize that, people really trust their pastors and the information that they get from their church. And we recognize the importance of partnering with churches. So we did. We've partnered with a lot of churches on the south side of Chicago. And this year alone, we've been able to educate over 7,000 individuals just through partnerships with churches. And that number is only increasing. We're continuing to do more. We're continuing to engage more. So we are boots on the ground. We're connecting with diverse leaders and organizations. We are really, explaining the importance of this disease and the need for us to come and enter into their communities to educate their constituents so that people are really well positioned to prepare for the journey ahead. Yeah. Thank you for that
Great.
question.
Well, thank you. So, speaking of that, do you have any upcoming community outreach events or something that's going to be open to the public?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Actually, we have quite a few next week. And I don't know if I'm able to share this with you, Donna, and you're able to share it with everyone, but because of the positive results from the US Pointer study, we are actually doing a cooking demonstration because one of the
Great.
things that we found is, they adopted the MIND diet, which really helps with improving cognition. So we're doing a cooking demonstration next week. It's virtual. It's free for everybody to join. And we are providing brain healthy snacks and meals on a budget so that anybody, anywhere, can start to think about recipes that they can adopt for themselves, for their families. So that's one I would love to share with everyone. We do have a research conference that's taking place in November because it's caregiver month. So we always want to
Yes.
be there for our caregivers and continue to equip them with tools and resources, and then also bring them up to speed on how the landscape is changing. And again, really sharing hope. So that's happening as well. And I'm happy to share the flyer with you.
Please.
And then next year in April, we do have our annual African American Conference. The last few years, we've hosted it at New Life Covenant, and we always see about 500 to 600 people. Next year, we are moving it to UIC Forum. We want it to be a little bit more centrally located. So please come out and, take in all of the information that we have to share.
Thank you so much. If you would make sure we get that information, we'd love to share it with our audience. And I'm very excited about the cooking demonstration. So, our audience, I'll make sure we post those links and make sure that everybody has access to it. Another quick question from Dwayne. Is there any indication that there are more people under the age of 65 years that are being diagnosed with dementia? And I know you talked about early onset. Do you feel that that number that is happening more and more?
Yeah, I think we're seeing it more and more. And that's really because, we now have tools, better tools than we've ever had in the past. And also, people are actually paying attention to themselves and seeking guidance on what might be happening to them. So, yeah, it's a combination of both. I think, just basic awareness around brain health, Alzheimer's, and dementia, and then tools as well. So we are seeing younger people being diagnosed. And there is an organization local, Lorenzo's Place, that tends to do really great programming for people that are 65 and younger that are being diagnosed. So if you know anyone that might be there, absolutely check out Lorenzo's Place, and you can get more information there. Yeah.
Great, thank you. A follow-up question from Lisa is, do you also work with community health workers?
We do. And in fact, the Illinois Brain Health Project that I shared with you, that project, we are working with UIC. UIC has a wonderful community health care worker program. So we're in the process of training about 30 community health workers that will be disseminated on the south side of Chicago, raising awareness around brain health and risk reduction. So hopefully by November, they will be present on the South Side, educating and raising awareness with the Black community. So, very excited about that. But yes, we do work with community health workers, also in the Hispanic community. Yep.
Indeed. I can tell you're all over the place, but in all the best ways. So we have one final question before we close this evening, and that is that you shared some um, beyond medication. You talked about some emerging therapies, and we're just wondering in terms of what might be happening in the future beyond like blood tests. Is there anything on the horizon that has the potential for either slowing or reversing the disease progression?
Gosh, the Alzheimer's Association right now is funding over 400 million in research. There are probably about 1,000 projects that are taking place in 56 countries across the world. So we are, investing in research, Donna. We're looking at that. I don't have any, answers right now, but it's something that we're actively working on. And I think things are evolving so rapidly. Hopefully, you know, we do get to a cure sooner rather than later, but we are putting in the time and effort and money to be able to get there sooner rather than later. I will share something though, which I just learned myself last week during a town hall at work, and it's around the therapies that I shared that treat those in the early stages. And what studies are beginning to tell us is those individuals that are in the early stages that are on those therapies are able to get about 2 years. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, before symptoms start to get worse. So that's huge. That's 2 years that you have to, remain independent, to do the things that you love, spend time with family members, things like that. So that's encouraging. But again, you want to be in the early stages to seek that therapy, to be able to get that benefit. So we'll see what the future holds. But, we are optimistic about the landscape and just everything that's coming out. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It certainly makes me feel a little more optimistic as well. And I've learned a lot tonight. So thank you so much for joining us. I know we want to have you back whenever you like to come back and share what's new and what's happening in the world of Alzheimer's research and treatment. So thank you very much for joining us, Olivia. And I also want to thank our audience. I hope you've learned a lot. And of course, we do these vibrant learning lessons and presentations periodically. So please follow us on Facebook, on our social media, and you'll see what's happening next. And with that, also please visit our website at sagecollective.org so you can see all of our wonderful programming, our YouTube channel. You'll have links to our podcasts. And thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we'll see you again next time. Have a good night.